Mr. Fry, you are good to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ballantyne, and welcome to you all to the Willink Year 5 Information Evening. We hope that this evening will be informative for you, and for many of you it's probably your first outing and finding out about what the Willink School is about. And if you're a parent of Year 5 at the moment, no doubt, and quite rightly, you'll be spending quite considerable time over the next few months thinking and making decisions about where your son and daughter may well go to in a year in September. So a warm welcome to the Willink School. Could we have the next slide, please? Ooh. Thank you. So my name is Peter Fry, and I have been the head teacher now of the Willink School for 14 years, and every day has been absolutely wonderful. I am delighted and proud to be head teacher of the Willink. This evening we have Mr. Sizer, who may be presenting a little bit, but if he could just introduce himself.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Lovely to see you. Hope you're having a good evening, enjoying the sun.
Thank you, Mr. Sizer, who came across very much like a cricket commentator there, I thought. Now, Mr. Sizer has been with us 16 years, but has been deputy head since 2012, which brings us on to the second other member of the group this evening, Miss Browning. Over to you, please.
Good evening, my name is Miss Browning. I am also Deputy Head at the Willink School, and I've been here for 11 years. And I know that Mr. Fry is going to make a joke about me being Deputy Head for only one day, so I've been well and truly put in my place. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the Year 5 Information Evening and whet your appetite about what life will be like for you when you join the Willink School. So I hope, like Mr. Fry, I hope you find it informative, useful and interesting.
Thank you, Nicole. Now, I do have to say that Nicole has been with us 11 years, firstly as second in the English department, and then as our SEND-co, and she will be continuing line managing that area in the new term in September. However, she has, as of yesterday, has been designated a deputy head of the school. So congratulations. So the figures on there should really be 14 years, 16 years and 1 day. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So let's just say a little bit about the Willink School. I'm assuming you know very little about us. So if we can, Mr. Sizer, sorry to say this, but yeah, if you can go back to that slide, good. So what is it you need to know about the Willink School? So the Willink School has this motto called Village School and Global Outlook, and you'll find that in an awful lot of our literature. And this is a motto, a logo that's been with us a few years now, probably 5 or 6 years, but actually encapsulates what the school is about, its principles, and therefore it's really important that as prospective parents of students here, you know a little bit about it. So the idea of the Village School is actually, yeah, we are located in the village. We are local, we have a small community, we look after each other. You may have heard of the motto, the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And we certainly think that it's really important that we get our students to work as a respectful community, an inclusive community, and so on. We're a school where we sort of know the individuals for their sake. But we also need to look at the global outlook, look well beyond the boundaries of the Willink, and that is in terms of our teaching, learning and our development of our young people. So the idea of collaborative means really looking to develop citizens, not only of the UK, but also wider afield with global issues, you know, such as climate change or even pandemics. You know, they need to know about these things and be part of that global citizen, a connected world. Historically, the school has been a language college, and languages feature greatly in the curriculum of the school. So that's something you may be interested in, and as a unique selling point. We'll talk about more about languages a little bit later. But it's because of that and because of the international dimension of the curriculum that the global outlook is part of our motto there. We're about collaboration. We're about building partnerships, whether that's with students. I mean, there was a lesson just a couple of weeks ago where we had pen friends were communicate. There was a video link with a school in Spain. Gives you some idea of the sort of thing we do. Also on that page, you can see that we've got the languages in English and French and German and Spanish and Mandarin Chinese and also Romanian. And those are because the first 4 of those languages, the French, German, Spanish and Mandarin, are taught in the school, and you will have a choice of learning those languages when you join us. Mandarin is now in its 2nd year, presently year 7s and 8s are studying it. And the Romanian is because we have a partner school in Moldova in Eastern Europe, and Moldovans speak Romanian, so that's the welcome there in Romanian. And our partner school there in Moldova also uses the strapline village school global outlook. So there we are. That's the Willink Empire abroad. In terms of our core values, we use the term engage, respect and achieve, and we think these elements are really important. And I'll say a little bit more, but they are sort of a link between, we want students to engage. If you engage, you enjoy, and if you enjoy, you achieve. The respect for each other, oneself, the community, the global environment is, if you like, a bridge between the engaging and then achieving. If you've got happy, safe students, they achieve. So it's sort of a fits down. Now, some schools have logos and you know, achievement for all or whatever it might be, some sort of fairly bland comment. What we do at the Willink is make certain, if we are Village School Global Outlook, okay, what does that mean in terms of our curriculum? What does that mean in terms of our values? What does that mean in terms of students' behaviours? What does that mean in terms of the way we talk to students? All that sort of thing sort of fits together. And that's what we talk to students an awful lot about. Well, Mr. Sizer talks to them an awful lot about. In fact, his assemblies go on and on and on. Next slide, please, Mr. Sizer. So let's talk a little bit about engage. Like I say, really, it's about if you engage, you enjoy. And by engage is in the curriculum, and you can see some pictures of some examples. There might be clubs, there might be visits, there might be science lessons, peripatetic music lessons, whatever it might be, sports, even reading and writing. You engage and you enjoy. And if we go on to the next slide, we can have a little bit more detail about what we mean. Now, there's a health warning on this, and the health warning is what you've got on the slide is sort of largely pre-COVID, and we've gone through a period of, well, we haven't done a lot of this, have we? And we're trying to get it back into as much as possible. And then we're now a period of rebuilding. So hopefully in September, all this will be absolutely as it is on the slide. So lots of trips and extracurricular opportunities. In fact, we did actually send out a year 7 trip only today. This morning, a year 7 trip has gone to a French restaurant, and because we can't go to France at the moment, we bring France here. So we're trying, our staff are just brilliant the way they put things together and try and work their way around any obstacle, and there's a good example. Range of clubs, range of societies. We talk about engaging in language learning. You've got the 4 languages written there. We talk about the target language. We actually immerse students. We put them right in the water at the deep end, and then they've got to learn about the language. There's no better way than being told off in French, or being told off and being praised as well in French and German. Why not? You've got to understand these things. A very strong science, maths, technology type curriculum. We are a leading school for maths education, a leading school for something which is called the Mobius Maths Hub, leading maths education in Berkshire and in Wiltshire, in Swindon. What does that say? It says we've got a very strong maths department, but also says we're an outlooking, global type school. Fundraising activities, team building, exchange trips and expeditions once COVID has been lifted. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sizer. Moving on, the respect bit. So we've got the engage and respect and achieve, the ERA. era. We talk about something about our students come here and it's their time, their place, their era. Just another way of remembering for students what we mean. Now, respect is really important, and it starts with the relationships with our students they have with each other and they have with staff. So you will not find famous last words really ever teachers shouting at students. We do pay them respect, and we want staff to model those behaviours with our young people. So it begins with the student having self-respect for themselves, working hard, playing hard, looking after the respect of the school, respect of their uniform, respect of the community. It's all about that, getting those basic values in place so they have that self-esteem they can achieve. And it's about their work in sports and games and responsibility for one another and so on. Building up, of course, to the global citizens as we are in an interconnected world. So that's what the respect bit is about. And then we're on to achieve. And I think the thing to say that there is achievement is a really broad concept. And yes, I'll be talking a bit about examination results inevitably, because that is the currency for students to move on to further education, higher education, jobs and so on. But achieving is personal achievement. It's about them being a well-rounded individual, and at the end of the day, if we're producing students, churning them out of the Willink machine, and actually they are decent people, actually, you know, that's not a bad outcome. So if our outcome is decent people, we're doing all right. But as you can see, and these are quotes from Ofsted. Now, Ofsted came in 2 years running. They came on the 12th of June. Can you believe that? 2018, 3 years ago. And again the year after, because we volunteered ourselves for their new framework. Again, the sort of school we are. Staff may not like it, but we invited them in. So what they said was high attaining school, well above average progress, challenging the most able, supporting the least able, supporting the disadvantaged, high quality teaching, and so on. That's what they came up with. And I would maintain that that is all in place. We've had a bit of a knock. COVID has knocked schools from side to side a little bit and so on, but those basic values, those basic underlying principles are there, and that what you see on the screen is what we are about at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Sizer. Next one. So GCSE results. Well, we can count out a little bit about the green because those were not exam results last year. If you remember, students do not have exams, but you can see that over time, so we've got a 5-year pattern, we've got high achieving, and now we're into that sustaining that high achievement. So about 80–90% get that 5 good grades, including English and Maths. About 2/3 grade 5, and 90% get that suite of grade 4s. And if you get grade 4, you can then go on to colleges and access level 3 courses. So we have really good outcomes there. About 30% of our grades will be grades 9 to 7, the old A to A star. And then back where, you know, last year we can't really say too much about the results in terms of how they compare nationally, of course, because of COVID, but we're in the top 5% of similar schools nationally. So a school similar to this, with similar students, with similar prior attainment coming into a school, what do they perform at the end? We compare with the top 5% nationally. And then in Berkshire, if you take away the grammar schools of Reading and the grammar schools of Slough, then we're in the top 10 of the non-selective schools in Berkshire. So we're very proud of that, and that's something we work very hard to maintain. Thank you, Mr. Sizer. But we also, no, we don't also, this is what I said at the outset, it's not just about examination results, it's about those key personal attributes, and therefore we want to develop these sorts of skills, and we sometimes call them the LORIC skills because they're just because they're easy to remember, really. But we want to give opportunities to lead things for our students, you know, leading inter-house drama, leading sports type competitions, going on Duke of Edinburgh. We want students to develop those sorts of skills. You know, leading an interaction of a Spanish lesson with another school in Spain, as year 7s did only last week. At least I think it was year 7. Okay, so we want that skill. That's really important. We want students to be organised. So, you know, organising a Kiva fundraising initiative, for example. That Kiva is one of the organisations we have to raise money through the tutor groups for people in less well-off parts of the world. So that would be an example of that. Resilience. Now, resilience could be working hard to getting those 9 grade 9s, or it could actually be working really hard to get your basic reading and writing and going to reading catch-up classes and so on, working really hard, getting your grade 5 in, you know, for a particular musical instrument. That's really important. Initiative, that's another important key skill. So we might have students working on, for example, the BBC news reports that we do every year, or, you know, volunteering for work painting for their DOV, whatever it might be. And then there's the communication, you know, using work. For example, we have students taking part every year in the magistrates competition or mock trial competition, as we have, and they have to go to the courts in Reading and stand up and make a case. Now, none of those are GCSE, but those courses, if you engage, yeah, and have respect, and you get involved, and that builds up the character of an individual. And our students have high self-esteem and are resilient. I think we can say that broadly our students are, and it's down to that curriculum message that we have. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sizer. Next one. Well, yeah, another reason why we are popular is because, unlike some of the schools around us, we have a 6th form. And I think this slide here probably undersells our 6th form, because these are quotes that Ofsted made 3 years ago now, and the 6th form has grown. We've got bigger year groups coming through, and that's sustaining a larger 6th form, which has a broader curriculum and greater opportunities. Again, taking a bit of knock in this last year because of COVID, but all the green shoots are in place for, again, a very strong 6th form. And we would expect to have a 6th form of about 200, maybe just above, over the next few years as we have year groups coming through. And our 6th formers are great ambassadors for themselves and the school and the character and the ethos that the school has. And then in terms of the A-level results, because broadly our students take the level 3 A-level, but we do have some B-Techs in there, and the curriculum is expanding, broadening out. Well, it's probably looking at the 3-year average is probably the sort of figures that are more representative rather than last year. Although it does have, but in the year before last, 2 years, we did have 37% getting A star to A. It does change a bit from year to year. And the other important thing when you look at A-level results is, which you might look at that and say, well, they're not quite as good as whatever, that school, but it's about the prior attainment of the students that you accept to do A-levels. Some schools will only allow you to do A-levels if you've got like grade 8s and 9s or 7 8s and 9s at GCSE. We take a broader spectrum, so it's difficult to compare. But what we would say is our results are well above average compared with nationally, and our progression from what the students have for when they get into the 6th form and when they get out is very strong. Mr. Sizer, next one. And, well, hopefully you don't know Jack, Laura and George. However, if you do know who they are, you'll know they're very able students. Well, this was a list of achievers from last year, the sorts of grades they get, the sort of areas of the country they may go to university. And we don't just have students going to university, they will take apprenticeships, they will go into the world of work, they may have gap years. But this slide just tells you sort of the eclectic destinations and also the courses that students might do right across the spectrum from archaeology to zoology. There we are, and everything in between. Right, so Ofsted praised us highly in 2018 and again in 2019. They said that to improve the school further, make certain our plans have clear measures of success. Okay, well, we do that, and make certain that all teaching is of the highest standard. And we have really high standards in our teaching, but there are other areas who may need to be developed, and that's always the case in schools. But the key thing there is the word highest. It's not to make them as good as the best, it's to make everyone as good as the very highest. Ofsted survey, 208 responses. The last time the parent view was completed, this gives you some idea of satisfaction of parents with the school, which we're very proud of. But we are a very reflective school, and we always want to do as best we can, and we also always want to consult with parents and always, like I say, reflect on how we're doing and how we can improve, because we all know that schools don't stand still. You've got to move, you've got to adjust, you've got to improve, so our young people get the very best possible experiences, and that's what we aim to do. Now, I have said an awful lot, so I'm going to now pass to our Deputy Head of One Day, Ms. Browning.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Fry. What I'm also going to say is that whilst Mr. Fry's just talked about consultation with parents, there is an opportunity for you to do that this evening. So I'll just highlight at the top of your screen, there is a dialogue box where you can ask questions, and at the end of this presentation we will answer some of those questions as we go. What I'd like to talk to you about first of all is our very strong house system, and ask you first of all to look at the names of our 7 houses which will be launched from September, and tell me what you think they have in common. Well, I know you can't tell me because I can't hear you, but I know that you're thinking, hold on a minute, Shanghai, Berlin, New York City, Tokyo, Paris, Mexico City, London, they've all got something in common. They're all places, they're all cities. It encapsulates our global dimension. And you are right, we are a village school with a global outlook, and therefore our 7 houses represent that ethos. These 7 houses, the names of these 7 houses have been selected by our students through consultation through our student council. Every year we have elections for student councils, and we have tutor group representatives, so you will have the opportunity as a student to contribute to the school and what we're doing. And through that you will also be able to contribute, through our house system, you will also be able to contribute to the school and various competitions that we have. The types of things that you will do in inter-house competitions will include, as you can see from the photographs, some sporting activities. That will include your annual sports day, but also netball competitions, football, rugby, athletics, cricket, rounders, running, but not just physical activities. We do also have a wider range of activities. So with, for example, short writing competitions, spelling bees, how many keepy uppies can you do, the crossword puzzle, our reading challenge, our maths challenge, our STEM challenge, and in fact every single subject will offer you an opportunity to contribute to the inter-house competitions, and that means that you will be able to gain points for your house. Now, what does that mean, your house? When you join us at the start of year 7, you will be allocated a tutor group, and the tutor group is your house. So you will be in either 7 Shanghai, 7 Paris, 7 Berlin, 7 Mexico City, 7 New York, 7 London, and 7 Tokyo. And that will be your house from year 7 all the way through your time at the Willink School. So there will be a real sense of pride and belonging to your house, but also to the people within that house. And that will be, you will have peers in other year groups belonging to the same house who you'll work with, because we foster that culture of respect, as Mr. Fry said, and peer-to-peer support, making sure that you've got opportunities to work with each other. So the house system is strong, and you'll be joining at an exciting time because these names will be newly launched from September this year. So by the time you're now currently in year 5, by the time you join us, it will be fully established and you'll be able to immerse yourself within that. You want to know what a typical day looks like at the Willink School. It is very different to primary school. It'll be very different to primary 5. You'll be soon moving up into year 6, where you're the big fish in the school, and then moving on to us. So what do you need to know? How many lessons are there per day? You will have 6 lessons per day, which starts off prior to that with a tutor session. Every morning you will meet with your tutor group or your house group for 20 minutes, and during that time you will establish routines. You will check your timetable for the day. You will complete some activities, and they might include reading activities. It might be challenges, but also opportunities to work with each other, to learn about each other, to make new friends, and to navigate life and practice some skills and strategies to develop resilience. We said that was always important, and that's something that we do every day, and it starts off with the tutor. Your tutor, the person who leads that session, will be allocated to you at the start of year 7. And parents and students will meet with the tutor as an introduction, and they should remain your tutor until you finish the end of year 11, assuming that there are no job changes. So that means that you'll have the opportunity to get to know them really well, for them to know you really well, and your families. Of the 6 lessons per day, now I know you're thinking, hold on a minute, how do I know how to get to my lesson? Well, you'll have a timetable, and because you'll be generally in classes with your tutor group, you'll all move together, and staff will help you to find your way around the school. And actually, you will be surprised to see how quickly you can navigate that. But what's also interesting is not only do you have 6 lessons per day, so the opportunity to change and have variety, look at the range of subjects that you'll be able to study. English, maths, science, a modern language in year 7, which will either be French, Spanish, German or Mandarin, history, geography, personal social health education, religious education, art, textiles, food and nutrition, resistant materials, PE, drama, music, and then we have our computing, business and media. All of those in different venues, which means that we are able to offer different tools and resources that you might not be able to access in a primary classroom. So let's take food and nutrition, for example. You will be learning in our food and nutrition classroom, which has 20 ovens, 20 sinks, and you will be learning how to prepare a meal for the adults at home and for yourself. And you'll be able to take that home, which means that nobody else needs to make it for you. Likewise, in textiles, you'll be taught textiles in a room with sewing machines, and you'll be able to make a mobile phone pouch or a pencil case or a nice pillow to go to sleep at the end of a long, hard day at school. We have bespoke art classrooms and bespoke science classrooms, which is where you will do your experiments and use the Bunsen burners and hopefully not blow up the school in the process. So there's a lot of variety throughout the day, finishing at 3:05, which is the time that you can either go home or stay in school to attend one of the many clubs that we can offer you. But what many students really want to know about when they join the Willing School is the food. What's the canteen like? What can we offer? Well, actually, I think you can see from these photographs that it's quite an exciting place. We run a cashless system, so that means that you, upon joining us, will be given an electric fob. And that means you don't need to bring money into school. Your parents will top up the account, and using that fob you'll be able to select and pay for your panini or your salad box or something from the live cooking station, which is where our chef will stand and cook the curry of the day. And Mr. Fry's favourite, I think, is secretly the roast dinner. Mr. Sizer, possibly the fish and chips on a Friday. My personal favourite is the salad bar, and I'm sure if I asked many students in the playground, they'd say the panini, the pasta pot, the flapjacks, I don't know, many more. You'll also see in the photograph at the bottom that we have a van, a vintage van. So not only do we have the canteen, we have the food van out in the playgrounds, which sells the same cold snacks, but also hot chocolate, which is very popular in the winter. So many people want to know about the food when they join. And then that means we need to think about, Mr. Fry's talks about the best things, the best features about the Willing School. But actually, I think the one thing that we haven't really focused on is the people. The people in this school are the best people who you can possibly wish for to teach you, to work with, to develop friendships with. And that is why Mr. Fry, Mr. Sizer and I have stayed here for such a long amount of time. But we don't want to stand still. There are lots of things that we want to do and achieve, and I think, Mr. Fry, you probably want to go through a few of those developments now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Browning. Yeah, as I said earlier, schools don't stand still. It's really important that we reflect on what we do well, build on what we do well, and take on the best of that which is outside this school, and so on. So we need to make certain our teaching is the very, very best that it possibly can be. We are currently a national teaching school, which means that we have opportunities to collaborate and work with staff from other schools. We're strong on initial teacher training, which means that new people that want to become teachers come and train here, and also in terms of professional development of more experienced teachers. And although we will no longer be a teaching school in September, we will have close links with what will be called Teaching School Hub Berkshire. And we'll continue that pedigree of developing teachers and their skills. So that's really important. If you get good teachers and get good leaders, you get good schools. So that's really important. As I mentioned a bit earlier, we are a maths hub, which means that we're at the forefront of maths teaching and learning and developing leadership in maths teaching. So that is one area again. Now, again, you don't see that in the impact very much in, the PE lesson, but the fact is that we have staff working at that level, that very high level of proficiency means that that expertise comes back into school. We've got a history as a language college, and we've introduced Mandarin, and we're part of the Department of Education project for Mandarin excellence. And again, that is an area we will develop over the next 3, 4, 5 years and go up to GCSE and hopefully into the sixth form. So schools can't stand still. They mustn't stand still. You've got to develop, you've got to duck, and you've got to dive, and you've got to weave, and you've got to bring in the best of what is out there. And that is what maintains us as a very high achieving and sustained high achieving school. So that's important in terms of curriculum, in terms of personal development for teachers. And we will grow the curriculum, grow departments. And because the school has been growing and is growing, we've got new accommodation. We've got a new teaching block. That means over my shoulder. That means behind me, along there, which will open June. Hang about, we're in June already, so it won't be June. But we're very, very soon. We will have a new teaching block of 10 classrooms opening up. We will have our special needs area moving from there to there. We'll have our English from there to there. We'll have our humanities from there to here, and RE from there to there. I think you could all see that pointing. So that means that we'll have an area over there for an outside area, a new outside area for students with, I don't know, fountains and marquees and statues and all those sorts of things. Not really, but it will be hopefully very smart. So we're changing the accommodation, we're building up the curriculum, we're building up the skills of the teachers and the leaders in the school. We're growing the sixth form, and we're looking outwards to other schools so that we can learn from them and they can learn from us, and we contribute to the broader education of young people in and around not just this area but more broader than that. And that's what we're about, because we are about a village school but with a global outlook. We're about engaging, and we're about achieving, and about having respect. Thank you,
Mr. Fry. So one of the things that you will be thinking about is how we help you to move from primary school to secondary school, so the primary to secondary transition, and how we can make that as easy as possible for you. And actually what I would say is some of you may have noticed visitors in your school last week or this week, not last week, it was half term, but prior to that, and they were our year 9 peer mentors. We're very proud of our peer mentor programme, which is an initiative started years ago, designed to give students an opportunity to have responsibility, to promote the school, but also to support other students within the school. The process for application for being a peer mentor is actually quite rigorous. It's a bit like applying for the job as head teacher of the Willink School. First of all, you have to write an application form, and then our peer mentors are interviewed upon successful selection of those application forms. And then once they're appointed, they have to complete very rigorous training before then going out to primary schools to meet new students. And when I say going out to primary schools, we visit our local feeder primary schools, but we also have students joining us from this year, 30 schools in total, 30 primary schools. So for those students who are joining us from non-feeder schools, we invite them to the school before the summer holidays to meet the peer mentors. Now these peer mentors are going to be really crucial people. They are students who will help you to transition when you arrive in September. They will attend your tutor sessions in the morning. There is a dedicated space for peer mentors to meet with you during break time and lunchtime. They run activities such as Homework Club or STEM Club or Star Wars Appreciation Club. It is a real club. It was created because we didn't have one. Or Harry Potter Club, all sorts of weird and wonderful clubs. But their purpose is to give you somebody else to talk to ask questions, to give you guidance, and to be there as a general metaphorical holding your hand throughout the process. They will shadow you on your 2 days of induction, which means that before the summer holidays, we will invite you and everybody else who's joining your year group for 2 days to attend lessons at the Willink and meet each other. So they'll be your tour guides. And we even then, in September, invite you in as the only students in the school on the first day. So we keep everybody else at home, but we invite the peer mentors in to come and help you. And again, they take you from class to class to help you to orientate yourself whilst you're here. You will be VIPs when you join us, and you will be extended the very warm Willink welcome. We've got a specialist team who work to support the primary to secondary transition. So that includes the head of year 7. The current head of year 7 is Mr. Rakowski. Students call him Mr. Rocky because they can't pronounce his name. So Mr. Rocky and Mrs. Donathorn, or Mrs. D, is our pastoral assistant for year 7, visits the primary schools and will meet you here for additional visits. They don't visit all 31 primary schools, but we do have visits from the 31. You will have 2 days of induction activities, as we said. That means that you will have the opportunity to sample science lessons, art lessons, English and maths. It might be that you study resistant materials in that day, and you might be wondering what resistant materials is. It's maybe not a name of a subject that you studied at primary school. That is where you will learn to use wood, metal and plastic, how to cut it, how to mould it, how to make it, how to solder it, how to put it together in our dedicated workshop. So you will have 2 days of those activities. And then for parents and for students, we will have an information evening. Now, this is virtual, but we hope at that time it will be in person for us to meet with parents and for students to meet with their tutor group to do some complete some getting to know you activities, and that will be before the summer. You, parents and students, will also have the opportunity to have a meeting with the tutor, and that's in June before the summer holidays. And that's really important because, as I said earlier, the relationship between school and home really has to be a partnership. So that's the first opportunity to get to know each other, both from the school family and the home family. Share any information that we need to know and any information that you need to know. We also offer a summer school, which is typically 1 week of activities in school during the summer holidays, and that can include baking, Mandarin, treasure hunts, maybe a drama performance, which your parents would be invited to come in and watch. All designed to help students who might be feeling a little bit more nervous about the transition to get to know the school, the physical school, the key members of staff and other students. And that's particularly important if you are coming from a school which is not a feeder school or maybe doesn't have as many students transitioning with you. As I said, on the first day of school, it is for year 7 only. So year 7 are our VIPs for quite a number of time, and you will have the opportunity to be in the playgrounds, be in the corridors, be in the classroom on your own, getting to know the routine, along with those specially trained peer mentors. In September, when you join, within the first few weeks, because we're a school that encourages character development and engagement, we have a year 7 freshers fair, and that's where you will all be expected to join a club or a society of your choice to help you to get to know people, to develop your skills, to continue with a particular interest, or to learn something new. And we always say, if there is a club or society that you would like but we do not have, then volunteer, nominate that club, and we will try to make it happen. That is how our Star Wars Appreciation Club was created. That is how our Lego Club was created. It's also how our Harry Potter Club was created, our historical reenactments clubs. So let us know what you want and we will try to make it happen. And then we'll have a settling in evening with parents early in September. Once students have started and you're starting to see the routines, you may have other questions. So we want to get you in to see you, to meet you, because it will be the start of a long journey with us. And to quote from Ofsted, the transition from Key Stage 2, so Year 7 to Year 7 is outstanding. And we hope that that continues to be the case. Attending this evening for Year 5 information evening is the first part to that, and I'm conscious that many of you will already have children in the school, but for many of you this is the first time that you're having to make these decisions, and therefore you may have many questions. So we wanted to give you a bit of information and information about opportunities that you can access in the coming months. The first is, how many places are there? There will be 208 places. This year we've had between 40 and 50 students joining us in September which are out of catchment. So it is possible to gain admission if you do not live within catchment. I think Mr. Fry might want to say something a little bit more about that just shortly, but it is possible. In September, we will hold an open evening, which means that we want to give you, today is only to whet your appetite about the Willing, but we want to give you an insight into subject-specific information and the opportunity to visit the school. And we hope that that will be able to happen in person in September. That will be on Thursday, the 16th of September in the evening. And more information will be on the website and sent to primary schools about that in due course. Thereafter, if you would like to join us for a tour of the school during the school day while students are here, then that will be by appointment from Monday the 20th. You'll be able to book that through our school office. So come along and join us for the open evening, speak to staff, speak to students, find out about the subjects and what life at the Willing is like. And then if you want a follow-up tour and you want to speak about individual issues, then please do book a tour. I'm conscious that we've got some questions, and one of the questions here, Mr. Fry, is what do I do if I don't live in catchment? How likely is it that I will gain a space?
Okay, thank you for that one. I'm just conscious that Mr. Sizer's computers, or he himself, may have frozen, but hopefully you can hear me.
We can.
Okay, good. So no, if you're outside the catchment area, I mean the rules are really it's distance from the school. So if you're outside catchment but fairly near, you will get a place. 40 or 50 places of the outside catchment area, and I think actually the slide before this one showed there was something like 30 primary schools, which by definition cannot all be within catchment. Obviously some parts of Hampshire are actually nearer us than some parts of West Berkshire because of the borders. That's just the way it is, but we do every year have students coming in from sort of Thiel and Tilehurst and Calcott. I'm now thinking geographically, going around in a clockwise direction. We got from Tilehurst, from Calcott, from Spencerswood, and then down towards Swallowfield and Bramley and Chinham and Bishopswood and Tadley and Woolhampton and Bucklebury, you know, and going then round towards Pangbourne. And that is a sort of catchment area that we regularly have students. But there is a fly in the ointment, which is public transport, because the public transport is really east to west, west to east, going from the centre of Reading all the way past us and towards Tadley. Anything to the north of that or to the south of it, we sometimes work out and accommodate and collaborate with and put parents together to work out that sort of transport. But in terms of public transport, we are dependent on those routes. So if you want us, please put us top of the list. Thank you, Ms. Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Okay, we have another question about tutor groups. So the first question about tutor groups is, how many tutor groups are there? There are 7. The second is how many students are likely to be within a tutor group. The answer to that is approximately 30 students per tutor group. And students are typically taught within their tutor group, so subjects such as geography, history, drama, they will be taught in that group, and those are typically mixed ability groups with a broad variety of backgrounds, interests, abilities, to make sure that the experience is holistic and eclectic and inclusive as possible. The next question is about house systems and whether siblings are likely to be placed in the same house. Not necessarily. It doesn't, if you are in Paris, it does not mean that your brother and sister are likely to be in Paris in 3 years' time, but it's possible. Sometimes some sibling rivalry is not a bad thing, so there may be a mixture of house representation within one home. We have a question here about resistant materials. Exactly what is resistant materials and what I will do. Resistant materials is a technical, skilled subject where you will learn in the workshop. You will learn to plan and design products. You will use plastic, metal, wood, glue, hammer, nails, saws, drills. It's actually very dangerous and I don't know why we trust people with it, but we do. And every year we have fantastic products, and that's a subject that we can continue, students can continue to study into GCSE and A-level. For those budding architects, that's a subject that you would be interested in. So we do have a range of subjects which meet the needs of different students with different aspirations. Does everybody have to study a language? Yes, everybody does study a language at the Welling School, and as we said, that it encapsulates our culture, that we are outward looking. We want students to be able to have the currency and the skills to be able to communicate globally and to understand the world around them. It's actually a well-known fact that if you learn a language, then you're less likely to be affected by dementia in older age, and that's because of the way that the brain works when they're learning that language. And I'm getting on, so I suppose I should start learning a language to try and fight off that dementia. But not only do students study one language in year 7, in year 8 there's an opportunity to study a second language. So you will study either French, German, Spanish or Mandarin in year 7, and in year 8 you will adopt a second language, which means that you will be studying French and Spanish or French and German, which means that you can continue to study 2 languages at GCSE should you wish to, or reduce that to one GCSE modern foreign language. Okay.
Miss Browning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We have a question on our question and answer session. I think it should probably go to Mr. Fry. Okay. It's a question from one of our attendees who's asking, why will the school no longer be a teaching school from September?
Okay, yeah. So teaching schools was an initiative by the government, and there was something like 660, I don't know, I have to look that up, but over 600 teaching schools across the nation. And that's been reduced to 68. And it's the government reorganisation really of professional development for teachers and initial teacher training and so on. So there are various teaching schools which will no longer be teaching schools. So we will no longer be a teaching school. Berkshire Teaching School based in Thiel won't be, Maiden Early in Woking won't be, and so on, they won't. Berkshire will have just one teaching school hub, which is going to be led out of Langley Grammar School in Slough, and they will coordinate smaller clusters of groups of schools working together on initial teacher training, the early career framework for teaching for teachers for the new national professional qualifications, and we will have a big role in that. In fact, the role we will have will be that we will have staff that will be pretty much deputy to that role led by Langley Grammar School. So we will, in fact, to be honest, our role will be enhanced through that than it was when we were actually leading our own teaching school alliance. So that's where we are now. Thank
you, Mr. Fry. Right, we have a question from somebody just asking about bullying, asking about harassment, and look, how do we look after our young people? How do we set the right ethos amongst our young people? I think one of the things I think is important to talk about, first of all, is that's one of the reasons we have the tutor system, that students hopefully will have a tutor, the same tutor, if at all possible, during the course of their 5 years until year 11. And then there's somebody they can talk to. We have a strong pastoral team. I'm probably proudest actually in the school of our pastoral team and the way they work with students. Better than that, we also have PSHE, which is actually taught in the curriculum with specialist trained teachers, and they cover all sorts of things. In year 7, our personal, social, emotional and economic education covers things like coming into a new school, making friends, how do you form and keep relationships, things like that, and those teachers are specialists. Later on in year 8 and year 9 and in 10 and 11, they cover things like careers, but also cover things like sex and relationship education. And they are specialists who do that, which is unlike in many other schools, which is done through a tutor program, and you get a very mixed ability and mixed experience and mixed confidence of staff who are delivering those sorts of lessons. We deliver them by specialists here, which is actually a real strength of the school, I believe. We also, I've talked about our learning support team, I've talked about our pastoral team. We have a strong ethos through the tutor program and through assemblies. We have visiting speakers who come in and talk about respect and talk about how we treat each other in assemblies. Now, of course, bullying does take place. More often than not, it's relational problems, and we spend a lot of time working restoratively with students, with friends who've often fallen out with each other or unpleasant words have been said. But we don't tolerate bullying, we don't tolerate racism, we don't tolerate harassment of any sort. And so we do have a strong behaviour code, and we will deal with students who break that behaviour code, but we try and work therapeutically, and we try and work restoratively with young people, as well as sometimes having to use sanctions. We have a very low exclusion rate. We don't really exclude very many students at all, and we're quite proud of that, but that doesn't mean that students behave badly. Obviously, we have pockets of poor behaviour from time to time, but we deal with them very well, and we support those young people very well indeed on the whole. Mr. Fry.
Thank you very much. I don't think we have any more questions. I will just say one thing about admissions, because on the slide that you have, it says admission places set at 208, and you may well be thinking, well, that's an odd number. Why not 210? Why not 200? Why 208? So we do have 7 tutor groups. We have 4 in one half of the year and 3 in the other. Where we've got 3 tutor groups, we make up, there are 88 pupils in 3 tutor groups, and those 88 pupils make up 4 lots of 22, and 4 lots of 22 make our groups for technology or PE and so on. So you don't get any more than 22 students in a technology, food technology, those sorts of classes. And the other 120, I have to think of my maths, are made up of 4 tutor groups. So that's 4 30s, 120, which are then divided in those 4 tutor groups into 6 groups for PE, 6 groups for technology and so on. So that's how we get the 208. It's related to the size of what we can have in classes in technology, and also classroom sizes, because some of our classes, for example, in our maths department, you literally can't get any more than 30 students in there. There wouldn't be, there's no spare places whatsoever. So that's why that figure is there. Even with our new block that's been created, we'll obviously still be limited in certain sizes. We've got 2 more science labs, for example, but we'll still be limited in certain parts of the school. And it's just not right in terms of health and safety to squeeze any more in than those 22. So there we are. I don't think there are any other questions. So, and I don't think we've rehearsed this. Am I the host of the meeting? Am I now closing down?
Well, I think that as we finish, maybe one final question for the panel this evening. If you were to each, and that's including myself, we'll take one word to describe what our aims for students at the Willink School would be during their Willink era. give us one word for something that you would like students to achieve. And we'll start off with Mr. Sizer.
I'm going to go with, I would want our students to be kind.
Okay. I would say I would like students to engage. Mr. Fry?
I would like them to succeed. But when I say succeed, it's not just academic, but succeed in building personal relationships and being happy and successful people.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And on that note, then, we look forward to being able to welcome you all to our open evening on Thursday, the 16th of September, and then for tours from Monday, the 20th of September. This is being recorded, so if you want to go back and listen to it again at your heart's content, then you can do it. We'll be live on the website from tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.